Hello my friends, welcome to our Bob Anime Games and Disney Zone. We're sadly at the end of the line when it comes to our fresh pre-cure reviews with this final entry into the series, their solo movie. Honestly, it's been a fun ride. Before I did these reviews, I did not appreciate Fresh Precure as much as I do now. I mean, I still thought it was a good series and everything, but I really didn't bother to really analyze or research it as much as I should have because this was a major cornerstone for the franchise. The point where they really decided to buckle down and produce a series that actually appeals to a wider audience. While they had been kind of doing that since the beginning, I do believe this was a season where character interactions and development took the forefront instead of just shilling out more toys. Yeah, the Clover box was kind of blatant, but hey, at least it actually played a significant part in the anime. I wish I could say the same about Kamen Rider form changes these days. While the next series was what got a lot of people into the franchise, I think Fresh's contribution should never be ignored as it began the chain of some really good magical girl anime. Madoka Magica and its made clones may be fun deconstructions, but Precure will always keep the ideals of the traditional magical girl alive, even when they become a little unconventional. I look forward to analyzing a lot more of the following Precure series, including what's coming next. But for now, let's close the book on Fresh Precure with this movie, The Kingdom of Toys Has Lots of Secrets. $10 says Disney has a lot more skeletons in their closet. Our movie opens up with some generous fourth wall breaking. Yeah, Tart, Shifon, and Karu-chan are just casually talking to the audience. They also did this in the Princess Precure movie I reviewed, but I never really brought it up because it was a minor detail at best. Here though, they're being far more blatant, even doing a little Dora the Explorer routine. God, I feel sorry for the parents in the cinema. Hopefully nothing else in this film will get their kids overly excited or something like that. That'd be bad. Though the weirdest part for me is the fact that Karu-chan is in on this segment even though he's supposed to be an average human. I think. And of course, they wrap things up with instructions on how to use the miracle lights for anyone who hasn't had it drilled into their heads at this point. Anyway, the movie proper starts off with a special version of the opening that, while borrowing from the TV opening, also adds in a lot of new scenes with Setsuna in them. In fact, a lot of what's here could have easily been used in the regular opening after Setsuna joined the team, so why wasn't it? The anime's opening went through at least 2 revisions after Setsuna joined the team, and neither one really incorporated her all that well. Did they really need to keep guys like Kazuki in the opening? I mean, unless he breaks out some E-heroes, I see no reason to keep him around. Anyway, after that little bit of wasted potential, we cut over to the Precure, of course hanging out at Karu-chan's donut stand, discussing the slumber party they're going to have that night. Our fourth wall breaking friend also gives them some special donuts.
ねえカオルちゃん、特製っていつもと違う何かが入ってるの？
入ってるよ。真心。
Translation? Crack. Oh come on, you're all making the same joke, admit it. However, as they're getting ready for a night of fun, a new bad guy known as Toy Mashi is playing world domination by stealing every toy in town. Mr. Mashin, I'm pretty sure the Grinch never intended to take over the world, so I don't see how this plan will work out. Also, Christmas was last month. Actually, I love how the happy music does not match up with the scenes of the children crying, like, at all. It matches up with the Precure slumber party just fine, but when it's intercut with all of the children crying, it becomes laughably jarring. The Precure eventually learn about the disappearing toys and immediately assume it's Labyrinth's doing, only to learn from Tartlayer that since the Clover box didn't react, it likely wasn't them. Yeah, interesting thing about the Precure movies, especially some of the newer ones, it's often a toss-up whether or not the actual villains of the season are even involved in any sort of way. This was in fact the first Precure movie that didn't have any of the usual MOTWs appear in it, like, at all. So it makes it that much more of a unique experience. Anyway, since Labyrinth was ruled out, the Precure ponder who the culprit might be, and as they do this, Love hears a familiar voice. Bulma? Ah! It's the devil! Oh, it's just Love's bunny plushie, Usapyon. Ah! Sorry, just force of habit and all that. Though I'm keeping my eyes on you, little plushie. Don't you dare talk about stuff like contracts and the like. But yeah, Love somehow was able to recognize Usapyon's voice even though she only recently gained the ability to talk. Shouldn't this be more like the first time Mia and Mofurun exchanged pleasantries? Or does Love have a few issues that need to be discussed?
Maybe you should see a psychiatrist.
Anyway, Usapyon informs them on Toy Majin's plans and asks them to come with her to the Kingdom of Toys to try and stop him. They agree and use Setsuna's freaking OP teleportation device to take them there. Yeah, that thing's gonna get some serious mileage later on in this movie. After getting past a toy guard who sounds like a bad Pee-wee Herman impersonator, in other words, any Pee-wee Herman impersonator, the team enters the kingdom, and sure enough, it is in fact the same kingdom that Westar and Solar visited back in episode 35 while trying to capture Shiphone.
Continuity!
They even bring back the toy movie crew from that episode. The Precure asks said crew if they know anything about Toy Majin, and everyone acts as though they mentioned the Dark Lord's name, including the monkey director making a face that reminds me of that scary as all hell chimp from Toy Story 3. Jesus! With no help in sight, they end up turning to a dude who doesn't at all look like a villain.
I guarantee it. Would I lie?
Count Rulid, as he is known, takes them to a giant board game where Toy Majin is supposedly weighing at the goal. They play along, and each of the Precure end up in their own special mini-games. Love ends up in a dojo fighting a bootleg Bruce Lee doll, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, it's actually a Randy Marsh doll. Miki ends up in a knockoff Space Invaders game, complete with broccoli aliens.
Leaving we, the Broccoloid Empire, to harvest the fruits of the earth and plant the seeds of a new empire.
Inori is dropped into a prehistoric version of Dragon Quest. Hey, if you haven't entered to Yoshihiro Togashi's game, be sure to tell him to get back to work on Hunter x Hunter already. And Setsuna in a living chess game. I'm not half expecting an ultra hammy witch to come in to play an endless game with some dude who's played way too much Phoenix Wright. Also, I'm not sure what the deal is with Setsuna's getup. The others have costumes that at least kinda match up with their games, but what does looking like a blackjack dealer have to do with chess? Or did they just want to put Setsuna in a miniskirt? You know what, never mind, I think I answered my own question. Still, the girls quickly ditch their cheap-looking DLC outfits and change it to their usual gear. And one by one, they each clear their game. Miki shoots down her calcium-rich pursuer. Setsuna teleport spams the hell out of the enemy's king. Wow, that Deadpool joke I made in a previous video is coming full circle. Inori cliches the dinosaur to submission. Seriously, enough with the whole thorn in the paw, or in this case, ankle. Actually, that sounds 1,000 times more painful. And Love... Okay, I'm not sure what she did there, but it looked pretty badass, so okay. However, while the Precure were completing their little mini-games, Usapyon was transported directly to Toy Majin's throne room. Apparently, the two know each other, with the big guy saying that they're two of a kind. Both are a couple of toys who were forgotten by their owners. As such, he uses his purple energy to force her to join him. Usapyon may not be an incubator, but purple energy seems to be her weakness as well, apparently. With that, Toy Majin just says screw it and lets all the Precure reach the goal at once. Just imagine how many friendships would have been saved if most Mario Party games ended like this. But as it turns out, the goal is just one giant Bowser panel and they have to deal with a big cheating a-hole. He tries to berate them by saying that all kids like them end up abandoning their toys. Now that's not necessarily true, Toy Majin. Sometimes toys just get kind of lost in the shuffle. Like when you end up moving houses and then you kind of lose track of them. And then somehow they end up getting thrown away, and then later you come to really regret the fact that you lost your Megazords, even though those things were part of your childhood. Oh my god, there's so much to find your childhood. Oh god! Okay, I'm good. I'm all good now. I'm good. But yeah, Toy Majin reveals that his entire body is composed of many forgotten toys, including his newest addition, Usapyon. The Living Toy Story sequel proves to be formidable, but is stopped in its tracks after the Precure start launching their individual finishers. However, Love is unable to attack at first after seeing Usapyon inside the Toy Majin collective, and feels tremendous guilt over the thought that she had abandoned her little bunny friend. Miki promptly gives her a good old bright slap and reminds her of what their goal is. With that, Love gets back on her feet and unleashes her own attack on a still stunned Toimajin. Seriously, there was nearly a 3-minute gap in between their attacks. How was he still stunned? And on top of that, they hit the poor dude with their team finisher. Yeah, girls Gilgamesh called. He said you're kind of overdoing it. Or maybe they weren't doing it quite enough, as Toimajin goes full Eldritch Abomination and becomes a giant storm cloud, and reforms his body with all the toys in the kingdom by feeding off their grudges towards their owners who abandoned them, thus creating a giant CG abomination that looks completely out of place in this film. Well, as I said, this season did borrow a lot of attributes from Kamen Rider, so may as well add importing CGI monsters to the list. Okay, bad CGI aside, this is actually pretty awesome in a horrific sort of way. Not only is his body made up of malice-filled toys, when we get close up, we can see that the toys are rather lifeless. Yeah, they're toys, but the fact that we saw them so full of life earlier in the movie, it makes this thing kind of look like a Legion monster in a movie made for little girls. He's certainly a lot scarier than What's-His-Face from Ghost Rider.
My name is Legion, for we are many.
No, you're just the mutton chops dude from the Hunger Games in really bad makeup. So credit where it's due, this does feel like a climactic final boss. Anyway, in order to save her bunny, Love decides to pull a Shadow of the Colossus and runs up the giant's arm. Toimajin tries to swat her away while also scraping off some of his skin made up of the dead toys. Again, this would be a lot more disturbing if those things weren't made up of plastic and cloth. Anyway, Love does eventually find Usopp and apologizes for abandoning her. However, Usopp doesn't remember it that way.
ラブは私を捨てなかったよ。
Yeah, all you did was leave me in a closet for the last 5 years. You stupid bitch!
Okay, she doesn't actually say that, though she was probably thinking it, and instead tells Love that they need to make the other toys understand that the children still love them.
お願い。
Why are you looking at me? Oh wait, I see. This is actually one of the more subtle signals to the audience to start waving around their miracle lights. Well, good on the movie for showing a little more restraint than normal by not having the lights appear in the movie proper, but still a tad bit ham-fisted there, guys. Also, Deus Ex Machina much? Anyway, using the thousands of hearts that just appeared out of nowhere, Love transforms into her Cure Angel form. Yeah, again like Kamen Rider, they often debut super forms before they actually appear in the show proper. Still, I'd prefer more of Cure Justice Barry, but oh well. Love completely purifies Toimajin, reducing him down to his true form, which is just a plain old teddy bear. Between this, Toy Story 3, and Danganronpa, I'm starting to think that teddy bears are even worse than the space bunnies. Still, because of all of this, the former Majin is able to remember all the good times with his former owners, and the next day, the Precure take him to a flea market where he's given away to a little girl who hopefully comes from a family of exorcists. The credits start to roll, but the Precure then encourage the kids in the audience to dance along with them during the ending dance sequence. And I imagine a lot of parents then grabbed their kids and ran out of the theater before it was too late. So that was the first Precure film, and it was okay, just okay. Alright, positives out of the way first. I kind of like the villain of this movie. Toimajin just had such an intimidating aura to him, thanks to his design, his voice, and of course the over-the-top reaction from all of the toys as soon as they heard his name. It's also worth mentioning that his voice actor also played another Majin. Yeah, we could have a villain with a bit of a higher pitched and kind of irritating voice, but they had enough foresight to give the big scary teddy bear a far more intimidating voice. And on that note, it's also worth mentioning that this movie came out almost a year before Toy Story 3. Now obviously, TS3 was in production long before this film, but it's still interesting that they beat them to the box office. But still, getting back on track, while Toimajin's motivations may have been simple, sometimes simple is better. Otherwise, you might end up with a villain who personifies wasted potential. Ain't that right, Mobius? That said, I kind of wish we spent a little more time with him because there was a lot of
padding
in this film. Throughout this film, each of the Precure's transformations and finishers were shown in their entirety, even though at this point in the anime, they had massively streamlined them to save on valuable screen time. As a result, aside from the minigame vignettes and Miki's bright slap, Love and her pseudo-Kyubey ended up hogging a lot of spotlight. Still, for what it is, it's a fun film with good animation, decent comedy, and it's always nice to see this team. And hey, it's still better than any of the non-movie Toy Story stuff, and I'm willing to bet it's going to be better than whatever Toy Story 4 is going to turn out. But with that, we can now officially close the book on Fresh Precure. We will see them more in the All-Star movies and everything, but from this point on, we will be focusing more on the newer teams. The Precure reviews will continue in the future, but next time we're going to be focusing on something a little less sadly appropriate for the Sunday morning anime crowd. Until then though, farewell for now, my friends.